microphone.
Speak into the microphone.
Yes, Commissioner Woods.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a very long day and I am in a silly mood. This is not a good combination. All right. My first thing, because I don't do another copy of the agenda because I came straight from Salinas. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and do a call to order and roll call.
Commissioner Walton.
Here.
Commissioner Rana. Commissioner Rana. Commissioner Woodson.
Here.
Commissioner St. John.
Here.
Commissioner Herr. Commissioner Jacobson.
Here.
You have quorum. The chair is absent for personal family medical stuff. So
Thank you very much. Next, we can stand or seat and have a moment of silence in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. You could put that back up.
oh sure.
Makes it even easier. Big. All right, next thing we have is special announcements and communications from the floor. Do we have anybody online today?
We have 1 second. No, the only two representatives are the representatives from the Sea Haven Development.
Okay. So, and I don't think we have any special announcements today.
We do not.
Next item up is the ex parte communication on quasi judicial matters. Any communications or anything that anybody from the commission would like to discuss or raise? Nope. Moving along quick. Okay, next up is we have review and approval of the draft minutes from last meeting, which I guess was last month. At that point, do we need any changes or any recommendations or questions? I looked over and didn't have anything. No, okay.
And I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the meeting as written.
I'll second that.
We really have to do a by name vote, or can we just do?
I mean, it's a not, well, we're still in, that's fine. We'll just do the roll call. Commissioner Walton,
Yes.
Commissioner Rana,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodson,
Yes.
Commissioner St. John,
Yes.
Commissioner Herr, Commissioner Jacobson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, next up, item 6, which is the consent agenda today. Don't believe we have anything on the consent agenda. Which then leaves open the floor to the public. No comments from the public. Unless Sea Haven, you would like to provide comments as the public also. You have that option. We are here. We all made a commitment.
I'm good. I'll give you my update, my public comment. You can have it when you ask me questions.
That works. Okay, number 6 is done. Moving on, number 7. Oh wait, here we are with you. Number
Perfect.
7, informational items, Sea Haven project update.
Guido, do you have, I don't know if you can post it on my screen where I can see it, but I did submit the Sea Haven maps just so we could
Yeah.
referencing the same document.
Yeah, before we begin though, just a disclaimer. So Commissioner Herr and St. John live in Sea Haven, but they are able to sit for this item because there's no formal action from the body taking place today. So both commissioners can sit and ask questions and whatnot. So I just wanted to make that disclaimer. So let me pull up the map. So the map is, oh, the Zoom folks can't. That's right. There we go. All right, there we go. You are now ready, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so what I'd like to do is maybe start out with discussing kind of the status of the infrastructure, if that's okay, and then I would give all of you an update on where we are with kind of sales and what phase we're currently in, and then I think lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about the affordable homes. Is that okay with the commission? Yeah. Okay. So to start with the first topic, the large city park, it's the big white space kind of at the south of the page. We
Josh,
have.
can you speak closer to your microphone? You're a little faint.
Mr. Chair, if I could just, before you start on this, could you orient this map for me? I had a hell of a time. I couldn't read the street signs. I don't know. Or is the Sea Haven North? That's the thing that says Sea Haven, is that to the north?
The pretty much that is to the north, yes.
Okay,
So
So north of the north.
Imgen Road is to the south. That's Preston Park, and then it also goes up to the west where the green lots are on the left side of the page, and that's where it heads up to Second Street.
so that's Second Street there or California?
No, that's
California
California.
is the northeast.
That's
Or
California.
northwest.
Okay,
So if you look at the very top,
yeah,
that's this is California right up here.
No, that's it. That's Imgen. California goes left to right at the top of the page.
No, that's
see, that's why I had trouble.
there we go.
Oh, okay.
That's
That's
California.
California.
There you go.
Right.
And then Imgen starts at California and comes all the way down and around.
Carmel.
Carmel, and this is Salinas, and then this is Preservation, they live on here, so.
More like that though, right? Isn't it more like that
No,
though?
put it back.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I was
So-
trying to.
That and the big rectangular building in the middle. No, go. So if you move your hand up just a little bit. Up a little bit more. That area right in there, that's the current development. And the cove. That was just built.
Building out phase 3 right here.
Almost have my house.
Josh, you can go ahead.
I can go. Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure everyone was oriented. So, okay, the 18-acre park is on the south side of the page. It's the big white spot. If Guido can point it out, there you go. So we have approved concepts for the park. We're expecting to start construction this next year. We do have a little bit of a cost issue, as everybody does, including the city on their own parks. So we will be coming back to the city to look at where we can save together and what makes sense. Probably Q1, but we're expecting to start the park in Q2 to Q3 of this next year. And most of the park, I think, is substantially going to be the same. It's probably going to be more of a limitation on turf area, which is, one of the more expensive just because how big the park is. The checked part in the middle of the community, it's the kind of the black and white check part. That's the Oak Preserve. The Oak Preserve is completed. We've constructed trails and done most of the cleanup in the park. And then, as one of the commissioners pointed out, the rectangular park in phase 3A is the Cove, and the Cove is also completed. The homes in phases 2, 5A, and 3A are all completed except for the affordables, and we're almost finished selling out of phase 3B currently. And I do have some totals for you that I'll review in a second. So where that leaves us today is we are currently in phase 4A, which is over on the right side, a majority of red lots there. We've sold a few homes in the 4A. All the infrastructure is completed, but we are waiting for PG&E to energize the tract. We are beginning work in phase 4B, which is up to the furthest northeast. And that work includes not only the lots, but the long white strip that kind of goes from, I'll call it the south to the north, but I don't really know, what that is, but Guido's pointed it out. That's the linear park. It will be a paseo, mostly natural, but there will be some benches and also some kind of low impact workout equipment along the linear park. And it does connect our other trail system and parks. That will be constructed with phase 4B. Lastly, let me give you, or not lastly, but lastly about the sales, let me give you kind of where we're at with sales, escrows, etc. So today we have closed 462 homes in the Sea Haven community. If any of you recall, the total unit count was 1,050. And that's what was approved back in 2004, and that's what is slotted for on this map as well. It's not lots, it's units, and the reason I say that is because the townhome units, which are the blue, almost squares in most cases, are 6 units per lot. And I'll give you a brief update on those in a second. But total closings are 462 to date. The Cypress are the larger lots in orange. We've closed 18 of those. Leia are the red alley load. They are all market rate. We've closed 211 Leias. The green are the Velosas, which are the 6,000 square foot front load. We've closed 191 of those. And Larkspur are the yellow cottage lots, and we've closed 42 Larkspur, and those are all market rate. And that kind of leads me into where we are with the affordables. If you notice, and I can barely see it, but if you notice, there's little black dots kind of all over the map. Most of the black dots are on yellow lots, but there are black dots on the blue townhome lots. The black dots signify an affordable unit. And where we are to date is we have 37 affordable cottage lots under construction. And they are primarily in phase 3A. And I think there's 4 in 3B, but I don't know if we've started construction on those yet. And then there are some affordable lots over in phase 2. And you don't have to go over there, Guido, it's fine. Not there, but to the right. There's a cluster of them. Right, keep going. Right there, it almost makes a little triangle in phase 2 to the right of those green Velosa lots. And so here's where we are. We've worked out our affordable agreement with the city. Everybody is happy. We released the first 5 affordable units, and we have 56 applications that we're processing for those 5 homes. Now, what technically happens is we'll release a set of 5, and that was agreed to primarily by the city. The city asked us to do that. We will get a number of applicants. We will hold a period open to accept those applications. And then once our third-party reviewer deems that those applicants do qualify for those 5 homes, then we will have a lottery. And actually, I think more accurately, the city will have a lottery, so we're independent of that. And then the top 5 people are picked for those homes. If they choose not to purchase one of those homes that are released, then they get dropped back into the pool of applicants. And then we'll do it all over again until you find a buyer. And so out of the 37 homes, 15 are completed. They're ready to be sold and closed. And so our plan is to release the 5, have the lottery, sell those 5, and then also release another 5 and continually work through all 37. Once we have about half of those homes sold, they don't necessarily have to be closed, but we'd like them sold. Then we will begin construction on more affordable units in phase 4A and also 3B. And that's how that will continue for the cottage lots all the way through until they're all sold. Now, as it relates to the townhomes, ARC Planning Commission have approved our townhome designs. We're working on the approvals with the city on the working drawings, and so that would be the 6 units on each blue lot. And we anticipate starting construction on the first batch, which is over in phase 5A. So Guido, if you could go to the left. There. All the way over to the left, closest to engine. There's one lot in phase 5A right there. It's kind of a long rectangle. So we'll begin the first townhome lot there. And what we anticipate doing, because it's a new product, is we'll start construction in probably February or March. We'll get the homes to frame walk. We'll walk them to make sure that we like them, or if there's any changes that need to happen in the field. We'll go back to the city with any necessary changes. And then once those are near completion, we'll then also start those townhome units over in phase 3A. And then it'll be the same process as the cottage lots. We'll develop an interest list. We'll form a list of applicants when we release 6 to sale. Once they're approved, we'll do a lottery, and then the whole process continues on. So by the development agreement, or the amendment to the development agreement that we signed with the city, we are way ahead of schedule with the BMRs. Just because it's taken so long to process, we'd like to be further ahead, but we've constructed all the BMRs that is required of us at this point in time. That was really quick. I think that's all the information I have, but I'm more than happy to answer questions.
Thanks, Josh. I have a couple questions, but I'll open it up to the other commissioners first. Commissioner Herr?
Well, so according to the map, all the townhomes have dots. So does that mean that all the townhomes will be affordable housing?
That is correct.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Go on, Commissioner Walton.
Ken, thank you for that presentation. That was very thorough. I just have maybe just one question to start. What are the price ranges on the affordable housing? Or can you disclose that at this moment?
No, I can. Yeah, and I knew someone was going to ask me that, and I probably should have been a little more prepared with the pricing because everybody asked. Let me switch over to my email and see if I can find that really quick.
They're just the prices of the house. We have that. Yeah, I don't know if you have that readily available. But... Let me try to see if I can get.
Guido may beat me to it.
Yeah, let me try to. I haven't normally connected from here.
Okay, so got AMI. Let me see what this price is at. Bear with me. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to give you a range. The workforce cottages start in the low 600s. And there's a few of those different plan types. The bridge, okay, so there's 3 designations for affordability. There's workforce, which is the a little bit higher. There's moderate and there's bridge. Moderate is the lowest, and then it goes workforce then bridge. And bridge was anticipated to be not necessarily a state designation for affordability, but I think it was the intention of the city during this approval process that it would be the bridge for people in between affordability and market rate. So let me start at the lowest. So the townhomes under a moderate price will start in the mid 400s. There are 51 moderate townhomes. There's also 51 workforce townhomes, and those will start in the mid 500s. For the bridge, there's 2 designations, or I'm sorry, for the cottages, there's 2 designations. There's workforce and bridge. And the workforce homes start in the mid 6s, and the bridge homes go from the mid 7s to the low 800s. And all of that is driven by average median income of Monterey County.
Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Any other comments from commission? Yes. Commissioners.
Yeah, my name is Richard St. John. And I also want to voice my appreciation for your presentation. It is enlightening, and I live in Sea Haven, so I'm often asked by neighbors for the status, especially of the new park. Getting back, I have a couple of questions. One, Area 5B on the very far west, southwest corner. Can you go over any issues in that area and when that area is scheduled for any, even the start of construction?
Absolutely. Congratulations, Commissioner St. John. I actually really appreciate that neighborhood, and I bought a house in there myself, just a FYI. So, okay, so Area 5B is the last area within the project that needs environmental mitigation, and what needs to be mitigated is the Sandelia plant. We've continued to do surveys on that area every spring for I think about the last 5 years now. We have a 2081 permit, which is the technical term for the permit needed with Fish and Wildlife. We've been processing that, and I think in Q1 of this next year we will be finished processing that, and our 2081 will be issued. And what will happen is, and Guido, can you pull the map open one more time for me? And just open it all the way up if you can. Don't zoom in on 5B.
Oh, not, am I not sharing? I thought I was sharing. Josh, you can see the map, right?
No, I can't. It's locked up. I just see the consent agenda. I'm sorry.
We could all see that.
Oh, okay. Okay, there we go. Now I can see the
There you
map.
go.
So over by Carmel Avenue, we actually have a remainder property that's just to the east of 4B or northeast of 4B. It's about 5 acres, and what we've proposed to Fish and Wildlife, and they've agreed to, is to allow us to mitigate for that Sandelia species of plant on that remainder property that we own. Now, what technically has to happen is we need to post our cash for that. We need to work out not only an endowment, but also a maintenance agreement with most likely Bitzer Land Trust. And then once all the documents and cash is completed with Fish and Wildlife and Bitzer Land Trust and the city of Marina, then we can begin construction on phase 5B. We most likely will not need those lots for a couple more years, but we expect to have all of the paperwork completed by this next year. Now, I'm going to pose a question back to the Planning Commission, and just to let you know, there probably is no answer today. But in the middle of phase 5B is the sand tank. That property is owned by the city of Marina, but it was the tank utilized by the university for water, and they no longer need that. And so one of these days, the city of Marina is going to need to decide what to do with that sand tank area. And so we will not be a party to that, but it could be a fabulous amenity for this neighborhood and the city of Marina to plan in the future. So just to kind of put that bug in your ear.
I'm sure that would not apply.
Got it. Okay. Good. But it shows that it's MCWD.
Most. Yeah.
So Josh, we could actually put that AT&T tower right there, couldn't we?
Well,
it's
good
Death
luck.
Valley.
Good luck with the community.
Well, you'd be part of the community. So did you buy a house in there?
I did. Yeah, I did.
That's actually a good point. That was one of my questions, was who actually owned that subset of land. Was that part of yours or not?
We did some research with this. We thought it was MCWD as well, but they only have a right to use it. It's technically owned by the city of Marina.
As we're updating the general plan for the planning commission, this would be a good, when we bring the general plan update, that would be a good topic of discussion for the body. So,
And I've got one other question, and you might not be the right person to ask, but I'm sure you can rattle some chains somewhere. One of one of my not a close neighbor, but one of the Sea Haven residents has made an application to put an ADU over their garage, add a second floor to the garage,
Okay.
and have a 1-bedroom ADU up there. And it's hung up, and it's hung up because you have all of the water permits for Sea Haven. The developer does, and you can't add another water permit. You can't add another water meter. And so the only shot that this homeowner has is to connect it to her existing water supply. And her home is not that big. It's I don't know, around 2,000 square feet, something like that. So I don't know, she hasn't gotten back to me on solving that problem, but I asked her, where it stood. And do you know if the water meters for the Sea Haven homes, if they have any excess capacity?
actually, Josh, I can answer that if,
Well, Guido, let me take a shot from my end.
Yeah.
And then
So-
you could talk about the city side of it, I think, a little bit better. We originally had an ADU, and I just don't think we've sold any, planned for Sea Haven. It was on our Leia product, and it was just as you described. It was a unit above the garage. It was quite expensive, but that ADU did use the same electric meter and water meter. But I don't know if we've sold any, and I don't even know if we still offer that because it wasn't in demand a few years ago. However, with that said, you are correct that we do have the appropriate water allocation for 1,050 units. We don't have any more water allocation for any additional units beyond that as a developer. Now, with that said, I have no idea how the city and MCWD views this with the state and the new ADU laws that are in place. And I think maybe that's where Guido can come in and fill in from a legislature standpoint.
Yeah, so we've been in extensive talks with the water district because we've anticipated this issue, and then might have been your neighbor, Commissioner St. John. So, each Sea Haven and the dunes have specific water allocations that were, granted as part of the original project. So, what we're tentatively working out with the water district is a junior ADU within the body of the existing house wouldn't require a new water meter, wouldn't require new water allocation. And so the junior ADUs would probably be more conducive for the Sea Haven and dunes. But we're still not an MOU or whatnot. We're just kind of putting together an operational order so that we can all be on the same page about that. So that's kind of where we've left it as of a couple weeks ago.
Guido, can I ask you a question about
Yeah, of
junior
course.
ADUs? And I don't really know this. I know that an ADU would be a detached structure from the house. A junior ADU would be like a garage conversion. How does the city view an add-on above of the garage? Is that an ADU or a junior ADU?
The junior ADUs would be either the garage or within the body of the house, not an addition onto. So,
Even attached to the house, like above the garage, would be a full ADU.
yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a size limit, a maximum size limit for a junior ADU is something like 150 square feet.
No, a junior ADU can be 500 square feet. The 150 that you're quoting is you can add up to 150
Oh.
square feet to
But
the house,
additional-
the existing house for ingress egress purposes, and still have it counted towards as a junior ADU. So
Yeah, that's what it was. It was a maximum of 150 square feet of new additional construction. The rest of it would have to be a conversion.
Exactly.
All right, well, that's all I had. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Could you actually, when you get that
Go ahead.
done, I'll come to you in a second, can you actually come back and talk to us more about that as we go through? Because that's that clarification, because I'm curious about both Sea Haven and the Dunes, because there's still hundreds of homes that are to be built there. And down the road, the issue of junior versus ADU, maybe not for a year or so, but eventually there may be residents there who want to build. It's not just one right now. It may be a number of people who want to build ADUs. But then I'm also, as we get into Hardin Ranch, are we going to run into the same issue there? Because that's new development.
Which ranch? I'm sorry.
Not Hardin Ranch. No. Marina Station.
Yeah,
So
so
since
we
Marina
can,
Station is under,
yeah, so the context for the conversation for the rest of the commission is the Dunes and Sea Haven are under kind of the former Fort Ord area with specific water allocations per the settlement agreements, the original transfer of land from the Army and the development agreements. Marina Station and Central Marina have quite a bit of water compared, according to the Water District Master Plan. So those restrictions would not apply.
so
That's why we're able to build Marina Station.
well, that's why we also don't have water credits or anything else when we want to build
So,
like the rest of the community on the peninsula.
so
But I think that, and it was just my concern. So yeah, if you could, down the road, as you track this down, if you could come back and present that in a couple months.
So yeah, so like I said, we're still kind of in, part of my job as a director is to anticipate customer issues. So I had gotten together with the staff a couple months ago and said, hey, I'm a real big proponent of ADUs. I see this becoming an issue. Let's start talking to the water district. So Allison and Nick have been running point on that. So we have a kind of a draft operational order put together. And then once we finalize that, we can absolutely bring that back to the commission.
I appreciate it, because I think it's actually, to be honest, a surprise to me, because I think in the previous conversations we've had, that restriction, that restriction plays over and over again on land use, reuse within Fort Ord, whether it's water or just what you're going to put on land, et cetera. And I think that also leads to, it's kind of a general plan question, but also coming back to this MCWD open space land is, yes, we can bring that up on the general plan discussion. But if we could as we get to that point and we're reviewing it, if we have some parameters of what to ask about, so that we are prefacing what can be done there.
Absolutely.
Because again, it's a new piece of land that we've never talked about, and we know we have some guidance and some boundaries right now on what we can do with Cypress Knolls. This is obviously a much smaller section, but what are the guidelines that we can actually follow when we're embedded within another bigger neighborhood?
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. You had, Commissioner St. John, you had anything else? Okay, Commissioner Jacobson, you had questions?
Yeah, thank you. And I think my question is more general, and I'm not sure who can actually address it. But we've, defined what this affordable housing prices are. We know what the low end is. We know what the high end is. And we know that it'll be a lottery and people have to qualify. So my question is not so much on the prices, it's more around down payments, interest rates, help, that kind of stuff. Or do people just go to the bank and get a normal mortgage and have to have the same down payment?
So we have a lender selected who's a third party lender. They're not affiliated with us, but both the city and us have agreed on the lender. By the way, the buyer could use any lender they want to. They don't have to use this lender, but this lender is well versed in affordable housing. And so as they qualify for the loan with this lender, she's able to tell them what they need for a down payment. And it's kind of funny that when you look at the homes from an affordability standpoint and a lending standpoint, and let's say that the home is worth or is being sold for $500,000, and that's whatever affordability category that they fall in. The buyer actually gets the benefit of if that home is a market rate home. So if the home appraised for $1 million, that means that the buyer is getting credit for a 50% down payment, which reduces the requirement for them as an actual cash down payment, but it also removes mortgage insurance and anything else as it relates to that loan. And the lender is, I think, much more well versed in discussing this with the buyers than I am. So, but there is help in that respect.
Yeah, that I just didn't realize that if the house assesses for $1 million and they're buying for 500,000, they're in pretty good shape on both ends.
Yeah, and I was not aware of that when we started this process either. That's something I learned as well.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Can they sell it or are they?
There's an equity
Deed
share
is locked
component.
in.
Well, there's an equity share component with the city as part of our affordability requirements. I think that the buyer does have an option to sell it at a market rate, but I don't recall all the requirements. Guido, maybe you do, or maybe that's a better question for Matt Mogensen.
Well, I'm sorry, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Can the buyer turn around and sell it at a market rate? And I believe that
No.
well, I think actually technically they can, but the city is the one that gets the equity in the deal, not the buyer.
Right.
Yeah.
There are some restrictions in terms of how much equity that they're able to garner from the sale, and
It's not like
Yeah.
they can qualify for the loan in the home, buy the home, and turn around the next day and sell it for a market price and
exactly,
capture
yeah.
all that income. No.
What Josh is describing is, yeah, we want to try to capture some of the equity, and it's actually Matt, as Josh said, is more of the point person. But yeah, they can't just flip it and make all the profit. That
Yeah,
would
no.
be kind of counterintuitive, right? So.
Didn't even have this, so we've got all of the conversations. Students right now, we have stations, we're gonna have this issue come over and over again.
I can't. If
Presentation, not for Josh and I, but just for this kind of degree.
Absolutely.
Guido, I can't hear any of the conversation.
Thought it was on. So I'll
Oh,
say that
sorry.
again. No, what I was saying, Josh, is that I just asked Guido if at a future time also if they could talk to us more, because this isn't really a Sea Haven issue. That's more of an issue of any of our workforce housing, because we've got these houses coming online at Sea Haven right now. We're gonna have it at Marina Station. So it really just kind of an understanding of how the process works and if there's a scaling factor. I'm assuming it's probably some type of scalability that over time that the equity of the city goes down. So you own the house for 10 years, then yeah, you get to keep all the equity. Or is it something like Castroville where they've got housing there and those are actually deed restricted, so they always have to stay below market rate?
Yeah, and
Well-
like I said, a lot of that's in our BMR program policies that Matt
Okay.
helped get adopted, but we can certainly have Matt come speak to the commission.
Thank you.
And just an FYI, as it relates to Sea Haven, we do conform to that new affordability program that is approved. So maybe Matt come in to talk to the commission about that and educate everybody. Just so you know, Sea Haven complies with the same program.
Oh, no, and like I said, I appreciate Matt coming and speaking to us. I think that would be great. I just really, it's just kind of understanding what the program is, because that's
Yeah.
something that's one of the things that has made our arena numbers and go so easily, is because we have so much of this being built. So this is a key component of why we're in such good shape right now as a community. Do you have any other comments, Commissioner Jacobson?
No, sir.
Okay. So I have a couple. Again, thank you very much for speaking today. I appreciate it. There's a lot going on still. Mine are some issues that are somewhat tied back to the city's budget for next year. And it's on development, and it's developers, the ancillary roads in Pacific California Avenue. But before I get into that, I'm just curious, PG&E, when you're going to the park or other areas other than your hookups, have you had challenges getting PG&E schedules? Because we are seeing in some of the other more commercial developments, schedule slippages that are coming up from PG&E.
Every project we have is delayed due to PG&E.
We really have no control over that, Guido, at all from a city perspective, do we? With PG&E?
There is a local rep who helped us with the Hampton Inn, but that was kind of an emergency situation. But yeah, every major developer in every city I work for has some PG&E challenges, so to say the least. So
Yeah, I like our Starbucks that is now going on 10 months delay, and their transformer is still sitting in a driveway.
It took us, we installed solar panels on our office, our commercial building. And it was to zero out the entire office, and it took us 2.5 years to get PG&E to turn it on.
yeah.
Okay, thanks for that.
And
I figured that was the answer, but I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, and Dana Gillespie is one of my coworkers. She's on this as well. She's in charge of land development. That's the last thing land development is waiting for in phase 4A is for PG&E to energize the track.
And I think that's kind of where I was going to, because what I saw myself almost 20 years ago when I first moved here was I was moving into a subdivision, and PG&E sat on it for over 6 months, energizing the subdivision. In our case, luckily it was military, and we were able to get the government to apply pressure to PG&E. But so I wondered on bigger projects, on individual small projects, one thing, but on bigger projects, was there any more leverage? And it sounds like the answer is no. Okay. My next question, really kind of 2 questions, and this is in our budget lines for next year. We approved a couple of improvements for California Avenue between Rain Dollar and Imgen. I'm just going to talk about that section of the project. There's projects on the other side that were on the dunes, on the dune side of California or of Imgen. They're tied to TAMC and they're tied to the bike trail, and that's kind of part of the funding side of it. But the projects themselves came up as transportation mitigation efforts that came off of the initial, I'm assuming, traffic studies that were done for Sea Haven of where you thought traffic would come in and out, mainly out of the neighborhood, and how it would affect California.
It was actually the traffic mitigation that was a part of FORA. And so when we negotiated our FORA fee, which we're paying a full FORA fee to the city of Marina, as the city of Marina has stepped into those obligations, that's where our dollars are going to, and that's where those traffic mitigation infrastructure plans came from.
Eventually, I'm going to understand this entire process. So FORA developed the traffic surveys back probably 20 years ago timeframe. And Guido, this is kind of coming back to you to see if I get this right now. So FORA did the traffic studies. Then the development was delayed. When it was passed off from FORA to Sea Haven then took that over, but the mitigation efforts that FORA came up with were still sitting out there. And because there are mitigation efforts on California, and because there's nothing new, more recent, that became the basis for some of the design elements that Public Works is thinking about doing for improvements on California.
I think
Yes, there's a little bit more to it, but Josh could probably fill you in. So
yeah, I think you got 99% of that right. But the part that you missed was the political boondoggle of FORA over the last 25 years. And what happened was FORA was collecting fees and spending money in other places and not in the city of Marina. But there was mitigation measures that were earmarked that Marina had to comply with, and the developers or the city would pay for. But they would pay for it through funding through FORA, and FORA would assume those, and FORA never did. And so when FORA went away a number of years ago, we negotiated with the city to step in, continue to pay those fees, so the city of Marina could build those mitigation measures. And TAMZ and transportation and roads was a major part of that. And there's a number of other ones as well.
Makes sense. So basically FORA took the money, reapportioned the money someplace else. You're still paying it because eventually there's still mitigation efforts that need to happen. And so it's for the betterment of the community for you to still stay engaged. That's why you're paying for it. So I get it.
Yeah.
The
and
reason
it's
I
a-
rate,
It's a win-win back to the city of Marina because no money was going to ever go to Marina, and that was going to
Right.
be a problem.
so the reason I kind of raise this is now I'm going all the way back to the traffic studies themselves is that, and I'm totally talking about the traffic light issue from mitigation effort at Rain Dollar in California as a mitigation. So when I look at the process, if I understand it right, the concept of Marina Heights to California exit, and I just want to kind of, can you put the map back up with the neighborhoods? Because I'm just trying to figure out where the whole traffic flow is going to become so great that there has to be mitigation in both directions. And why? I mean, it doesn't, if it's truly there, it's there. But when I look at the map here and knowing the improvements that are being, and this is kind of more to Guido, but I just want to see if I get this right from a Sea Haven perspective. When I look at this neighborhood, you have a roundabout where number 1 is coming out of the cove. So that'll be a ingress and egress spot into 5B. But for the most part, most of the traffic, if they're going to go westbound towards the ocean, then if they're in 5A or 5B, it makes more sense for them to go to the other roundabout up near where phase 1 and 2 was, and then cut out at the circle. Then starting a circle. This doesn't show the new construction, but the new roundabouts leaving the neighborhood.
Okay.
Then they do to come down, then to go out, go to California, make a left on California, go to another traffic light, and then make a right-hand turn.
So
I mean, I think some people would definitely do that, but it seems like everybody from maybe, let's say the water tank down, seems like it would be faster for them to go where a roundabout is than to try to get stuck with traffic lights and traffic and stop signs.
So I can tell you that whatever stoplight is going in on California, and I've seen that, is not a mitigation measure of Sea Haven. Sea Haven was only required to mitigate and install a traffic signal at the corner of Imgen and Abrams. And that even has been delayed because of the roundabouts and the construction on Imgen. And so from a specific project impact, we've only been obligated to install that one traffic light. Now, I think the city engineer would need to address any other improvements that relate to FORA because I just don't have an answer to those.
No, and it's fine. I think that's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to just understand.
But
is-
just so you do understand, they don't look at the pattern the way that you've described it, because I think what you have described is probably the commonsensical approach. They look at unit count and trip counts, and there's assumptions on people going everywhere. And that's how a traffic study is designed. They don't look at, well, most likely they could go anyway, and you have an impact of this many units. So we need a traffic light here.
No, and that's fine. And fair enough. And I'm not going to dwell down to this because it's not very germane to the whole conversation tonight. And you're updating on Sea Haven's development. I think mine was actually, the biggest one is that you've got the stops, the only improvement you had to make outside of the subdivision itself was that one traffic light at Abrams. And the ones on the California side are more tied to other projects that are outside of Sea Haven. That's perfectly fine. That actually answers my question on that. I think the only other one that I had was on the park side, the main park, between Marina Heights and Imgen. Yeah, Imgen on the south, Marina Heights on the west, the main park that we're going to build.
Yes, I'm with you.
And I know you're going to come back to us in Q4, but my only suggestion would be to come back that we've now talked about this in other places. And I don't know if you had picked that up, that one of the things that has come out in other meetings that came out at the city council meeting was keeping the tennis courts as a portion.
Pickleball court.
So that's actually a good final question, because the conversation came out that they couldn't remember if it was going to, initially it was, I thought that was right. Initially it was tennis courts, then it was switched to pickleball courts.
Mhm.
And that's where it sits right now.
Yes. And I
Okay,
know
so-
that those are still included in what we're proposing, but we need to figure out how we can get the price back down to what was approved at 3.1 million. And I think we're significantly above that. I will tell you one other thing. We are working on an additional source of funding for that park that hopefully comes through and could increase the amenities.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that side of it because it doesn't affect the planning commission, except that the parks director has a whole set of ideas and priorities. So just check in with her. But I know that tennis court versus pickleball was a conversation piece that has come up over the last week and a half.
Yeah.
Okay, this was driven by city staff and council to be pickleball specifically, and so I know that's what
I remember the conversation.
Yeah, I know that's what's planned. I don't know about the conversation between tennis and pickleball. I haven't been privy to that.
No, I think they just couldn't remember at the city council meeting. So it came up in a different conversation. It doesn't have anything to do with you.
Sure.
So fine. That's all I have. Oh, that's the other question I have is, and this is more a comment, is what are the number of complaints that you're getting from the residential areas off of Carmel, basically the older marina areas behind 4B? Because there are a number of comments that are coming out in online forums and other positions of just the heavy construction noise. And having lived through 3A, I mean, because I live less than half a mile away, I know what they're saying. But I was just wondering what type of raising issues on 4B and right now about all the noise is one thing, but is that actually turning into actually concrete complaints that are being filed to you right now?
No, we've received, and I think it was more as it related to 3A and 3B and the neighbors adjacent to 3A and 3B. As we do the grading, I guess nobody understood, including us, the amount of reverberation that the sand creates when you're grading and compacting. And so not so much noise complaints from that area, but definitely more of the reverberation from grading. I don't think we've received as many complaints with respect to 4A and 4B.
Okay. Thank you. Those are the only questions I have. I appreciate it. I appreciate you kind of letting me go off on a separate thing on California for a little bit. That helps me understand that bigger process for our neighbors.
Sure.
So, any other questions? Yes.
I have a quick question, just clarification with the map, because if you look at the map, there are square dotted lines and there are solid lines. So what's the difference between the two? And there's kind of a, around, is it phase 2? Where the Velosa model is, there's longer line and square mix. So what's the difference between all these lines?
Those were just phasing lines. They really had no bearing on anything except for those were how our team discerned between the phasing of 5A, 5B, the ones and the twos that are on the map. There's really no real meaning to those lines other than phasing of development.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, because I see that it's kind of a mix. Even for B, there's solid line and there's, square dotted line in 4B at the same time.
The solid lines are more akin to roads. If you look at the roads, like there's a road that goes through 4B that is parallel to the linear park. That's a road. But the dotted line signifies the area that's being developed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not consistent. So the lines on 4B are thicker for the roads, where the same lines for the roads in 5A and B are thin.
Yeah,
I think the variance.
This map was the intent of this map was really the different prototypes and the affordability units. The formal maps that Guido and the city has are not like this. So I thought this would be the best representation to talk about the project.
Any other questions? All right. Again, Josh, thanks very much for coming tonight and clarifying a lot of things and then offering up Matt to help us understand affordable.
You're absolutely welcome.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Everybody have a great evening. Thank you.
All right, I think we are going to quickly go through the rest. So public hearings,
One public hearing,
one public hearing,
5 minutes.
one public hearing on the minimum density,
Yes.
22 acres,
No
5
presentation,
minutes,
very quick.
5 minutes.
So this body, along with the council, adopted the Affordable Housing Overlay Ordinance that got adopted by council February 7th. Because of that effort, we have a letter from HCD saying our housing element is certified. I got that letter April 27th, which I did share with the commission. But in June, there was a published court case from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals that the judge ruled the city of Clovis's overlay zone was not consistent with housing element law because the underlying zoning that used, there was an overlay, if you guys recall, the overlay is optional or a developer can use the base zoning. The base zoning is C1, C2, R3, R4. That's the base. And the way we wrote our ordinance is we told developers, you can build housing at the base zoning or the overlay. The overlay is an option. But the judge threw out Clovis's overlay zone because the base density was not a minimum of 20 units an acre. And the court opinion, I'm not an attorney, just that's the disclaimer, said that potentially the zoning wouldn't provide enough capacity for affordable housing at the base density designation. But the only thing we're doing today, which I'll show you, is we are making 3 sentences, a 3-sentence change to our overlay to just make it abundantly clear that if you do any development in the base zoning district, that it has to be at least 20 dwelling units an acre. That's all we're doing today. And I probably should have given you a chart, but I thought, well, hopefully, but maybe when I go to council, I'll have a little distinction. But since you guys are more familiar with the zoning stuff than the city council. Anyways, that is my presentation. We're just making 3-sentence change to the overlay so that it's consistent with that court case. HCD has not said our housing elements in jeopardy. No one is questioning this. I'm just doing this out of an abundance of caution because if we do this, then our 6-cycle housing element, which is going to come back to this body in the next 30 to 60 days, we can then offer up the overlay zones as part of that. So there's additional capacity if we take this action today for the 6-cycle housing element. So it's once again, it's just an abundance of caution so that we can be consistent with the recent court case and use the additional housing units for the next housing element cycle. That concludes my initial presentation.
Yeah, it was 3 minutes on your side of it. You got all sorts of brain.
You get 2 minutes. So.
Okay, so in the 2 minutes, and I'll try only 30 seconds on my side. So it doesn't really matter what housing element they were dealing with. Clovis is a different thing. For us though, this would apply back to this would be adjusting our 5th element or our 6th element.
Well, our 5th element's already been certified. But what this does is if we make this consistent with that court case, that our housing element, Rincon, you probably remember Ryan came and spoke to you guys. What he can do is he can write into the 6-cycle housing element that our overlay is consistent with recent court cases, and therefore there's additional capacity for a 6-cycle housing element.
That would just give us even more capacity.
Even more capacity.
Because really,
Which in the context of housing, just to give you some housing element stuff further, I think I shared with the commission that we had some reps from HCD come tour with Lane and I, all of our awesome housing projects that we're working on. And they were so enthused by how much housing that we're building here. They told Lane and I that after hopefully our 6-cycle housing element is certified, that we will be able to get a pro-housing designation from the state. And that makes us eligible for up to $33 million of grants. So this is all part of, get this approved tonight. Council hopefully approves it. Additional capacity for sixth cycle, pro-housing designation, $33 million potentially we could get for a whole bunch of stuff. So that's the gist of it.
And that's housing money.
Yes, directly from HCD.
All that for 3 lines. I like it.
That's it. Yeah, well, there's, you gotta get your housing element
Well,
certified.
we already created the extra open space in the sixth element.
So,
And all this is really doing is saying, all right, the sixth, if I paraphrase this correctly, when we created the sixth element, we had, here's the overlay and here's our base level. We looked at mainly the overlay side of it and we came up with, here's what our housing element is. But now if we expand to include the base, what it's going to effectively do is take our original numbers and add everything that is in that variance that now is part of the base,
exactly,
which is now just going to give us even
More
a higher
capacity.
variance and a higher capacity.
right.
And we just have to do that and for developers, it's really, all we're doing is we're really telling them, you can't come back to us and say it's going to be less than 20, which then clears up a separate issue, which is if they came to us in the first place and said that, it was creating a disconnect between what we are trying to do perception wise with our housing element with what we were actually allowing a developer to come back and suggest or
Right,
propose to us.
right.
So this actually closes a question point that a developer could come in and try to request an exception to.
yeah,
I thought about calling it a loophole, but I'm not sure if it's as much a loophole as it was. We just never addressed it. But yeah, you're right. It just closes an avenue off to make everything consistent at all
Right.
levels.
and I'm being, out of an abundance of caution, doing these type of actions. I think I might have mentioned, and you can Google it, there are these things called builder's remedy. If your housing element is not certified, technically a developer could walk through the permit center and say, oh, well, I heard about this court case. Your overlay is invalid. Now I want to do a builder's remedy. I want to build 500 units. You can't do anything about it. So we're trying to avoid builder's remedy as well.
I like the idea because it basically makes consistency across wherever you're going to build, however you want to build. We now have consistent standards, whether you're following the old zoning policies or following our overlay policies.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have to make a motion. Where are the 3 sentences that we're changing? Yep. Now,
So here is we're just adding any new residential development otherwise allowed by the underlining zoning must be a minimum of 20 dwelling units an acre. That's specifically what we're doing. And then within the body of the staff report, the actual motion is consider recommending council adoption of an ordinance amending 17.48130, which is the overlay of the Marina Municipal Code, the affordable housing overlay.
so it's actually not 3 sentences, it's 1 sentence.
One sentence, one very long run-on sentence.
It's 3 lines.
So,
It's 3 lines given the formatting.
yes,
So and that was the only reason I was asking because you'd said 3 sentences and I was reading 1 sentence. And it wasn't even a run-on sentence. Yes,
Before we
Commissioner
make a
Walton.
motion, thank you. I'm gonna just jump in. I have one question. First, I want to say I appreciate your forward thinking. Like deeply appreciate that. I can't remember the affordable housing developer's name, something Eden was here. I think when Renco was here.
Rincon, yeah.
Rincon, I'm sorry. And her concern was with respect to the opportunity for the higher density or along, I forget where, is it Del Monte maybe? You might remember better than I do. Does this amendment, does that satisfy or address her concern? Or is it something different?
I have to go back. I thought it was Dixie was she from
Something
Eden
Eden.
Housing? Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
I have a whole series of notes on the housing. There were a lot of comments at night, so I'm trying to think what she specifically. I think she was just encouraging us to go even higher density. I think that was her comment. No, that this is really just trying to address the court case. If the city at some future date wants to go to even higher densities, that's something we can talk about. But what's in the overlay is kind of what's been adopted, which is 35 to 50 dwelling units an acre with along Del Monte and Reservation.
Thank you. So, and then, if we are done, then I'd like to make the, motion that
Sure.
we adopt an ordinance amending the Marina Municipal Code Section 17.48 or .130 affordable housing overlay to be consistent with the recent legal precedent.
Is there, okay. So we have a second of the motion.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Walton,
Yes.
Commissioner Rana,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodson,
Yes.
Commissioner St. John,
Yes.
Commissioner Herr, Commissioner Jacobson.
Yes.
Motion approved.
It actually took 10 minutes from start to finish.
There you go.
Okay, next we come down to, now this may take 1 minute left. We have action items. At this point, do we have any action items? I don't think we do. Nope. Go to 10. Any study sessions?
We are having one about objective standards on October 12th. So we definitely need the commissioners at that meeting. And we're trying to set it up as a joint meeting between the commission and council. So we're going to go over objective standards at October 12th for a study session.
And that's actually at our meeting.
It is. It will be
That's
at
our
our
meeting
meeting.
here.
It's easier for us to coordinate them to come to our meeting. So.
It's the way it should be.
So who sits up here?
Well,
Them have that.
yeah, we should, we all play our roles. You guys probably sit here. They're the council.
They're coming to
so-
our meeting, so we'll let them have their dais because it is
You're right.
officially
right,
theirs.
Right. So.
But it's our meeting, so we don't have to come to, they have a Tuesday night commission meeting that week. Council meeting, so they have to come to 2, we don't. Okay, study session is done. Staff updates?
Staff updates, I got $85,000 from AMBAG for the REAP 2.0 non-competitive funds. So there's LEAP and there's REAP funds. LEAP is from the state. REAP is from AMBAG, which is the local council of governments, and I got that. So we're gonna go to council October 3rd to formally accept the $85,000 grant from AMBAG, and that will be used to implement 6 cycle housing element. What else is going on? Allison's been doing a great work on the local coastal plan update. We're going to be bringing that to the planning commission in late October. And general plan, we had a general plan meeting on last Thursday. That went very well. And we're going to be going over the general plan with the commission in November-ish. So, yeah. So a lot going on.
Okay, and then, so with that one, kind of walking through this, now we're back. So we've now gone through on the cycle of our big developments, now gone through the dunes. We've now gone through Sea Haven. What's up next?
Marina Station, they actually filed for their grading permit about 30 days ago. And we're working with them on their affordable housing agreement that will be coming to the, I don't know if that'll actually go to the commission. That'll probably go straight to council. Probably in the fall. Once we get that knocked out, then they potentially could be moving dirt in the next 6 to 9 months. That's pretty exciting for the city. That's another 1,300 homes and 272 of them are affordable. So.
Rita, will those affordable housing units be in the same range as Sea Haven?
That's still being negotiated, but generally in the same ideas to have some missing middle, some low, some moderate income units. So.
Thank you.
All right, I see staff updates, correspondence.
No correspondence.
Technically, we got correspondence on the 85,000.
Oh, well, yeah. So.
We never have correspondence, so I thought it was one time. Okay, major project updates. We actually just went through that, which then leads to, very nice thing, adjournment. So any other comments from the group before we adjourn? All right.
I will-
Just big thank you to the staff for all you do,
Thank
keeping our
you.
city nice and wonderful.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. If that is all, then I will go ahead and adjourn tonight's meeting.
I will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.